What has happened? Something has happened. All right, I hope you're everybody who's still there. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, I was stopping streaming. Anyway, this is going to pick back up. I guess I should start back over again. My reference photo here, cycling through, just down here are all the colors on my palette. The palette over here, I've got my colors here. When they cycle through, they're going to start from the upper left hand corner and work to the bottom right. The brushes I'm going to be using are these that are from Art Secret. These are my quill mop brushes here, and silver black velvet brushes for details. All right, with that, I think I'm going to get started. I'm just going to grab a number 2 brush here and get that nice and wet. I'm going to grab a little bit of my cerulean blue here. Use that for my sky up here. I'm just going to get a little bit of it wet and let it pull down. I do have very, very, hello fun stuff. I do have very, very lightly drawn on here, up here and here, some of the just contour lines here, not so much even the any of the bushes or actual hills or mountains or anything like that, just a general indication of what I want. I hope you guys can see there's a little bit of color here. I'm going to darken this up on the top. I'm going to mix in maybe just some other colors in here with it. I want to see what this is going to do to my sky. I'm hoping it's going to add a little bit of interest to what otherwise would be just a blue sky. I know I did just a plain sky last week, and I'm not going to do much more this week. I don't want my sky to be super dark. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a little bit of a cheat here, though. I'm going to turn it this way. Oh, that was more than I wanted. I'm going to turn it this way and let my colors run up to the top so that it's darkest at the top and lightest down towards the horizon line down there. And I can just continue to blend this down into these hills up there. You know, give me a little bit of this red over here. Give me a little bit of yellow over here too. Just add a little bit. It's not going to do much to this painting, but it might help to add a little bit of interest to what otherwise could be a very plain sky. I'm going to call that pretty much good enough, and I'm going to mix up a little bit of, let's see if I can do this. Let me move that here and move that here. I'm going to mix up a little bit of this background stuff here. I'm not going to be too careful about it. The whole thing looks to me to be Africa or someplace African-ish. Similar to, it looks very similar to where I live, but not quite as much vegetation growing out there. But I'm just going to mix a few colors. Give me some of that sky color in there, just to make a dirty brown color here. And I know that this paint at the top is still wet. I'm going to get a little bit of run up there. I'm okay with it. It's not going to run very far. If you remember, my table is slanted, and so everything's going to run down this way a little bit. So even if it does run up into that color up there a little bit. It's not going to do it very much. I won't have to worry about it much at all. Let's see, what can I put in here? Let me put a little bit of this, put a little bit of green color in here. I'll put some of this olive green in here. But I want to leave this pretty light. It's pretty far back there, pretty far behind our giraffe. I want to, at this point, pretty much paint around the giraffe. I'm not going to worry too much about if I get it perfect or not, but I'd like to not paint into this giraffe if I can help it. And when I think I'm getting kind of close to the line of this hillside here, I'm going to kind of stop, wet my brush a little bit, and I'm going to just let that blend a little bit down to that actual hillside. If I get a little run back up in there because I'm doing this, kind of okay with that too. It's my hope is that that's going to be so light and so diffuse that any little bit of texture is going to help that a bit. And we don't want any of that up there to distract from our main subject, which is, of course, our giraffe anyways. And I don't use a lot of water. I use a little bit of water here. I'll have to wait for a second, and I can probably continue with this again. But while I wait for that to dry for just a second, I'm going to take a look at this giraffe. And so I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. So this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to paint the body of the giraffe. It's kind of this ochre color. It's a little bit of a muted ochre color. And what I'm talking about here is the giraffe without any of the spots on here, without any of that reddish brown on here, without any of the color from the tail, right? So the base color of this giraffe. So I'll paint that. Down here, I've got some interesting shadows behind his leg here. It gets a little dark blue, almost a bit purplish in here. So we're going to give some of that. And definitely back in this leg, we've got a great opportunity. Maybe I should do it this way. We've got a great opportunity to see if we can't force this front leg to really stand out and this leg to be pushed back. You don't have quite the same thing here in the back, but here where his stomach hangs down, we can kind of make this stand out a little bit too. So we'll see how it goes. Fun stuff. How is my week going? My week is going fairly good. I don't know if you know or how many of you know I work at a university and school is starting soon, and that threw me for a bit of a loop. It's pretty busy there right now, but all things considered, it's going pretty well. The stress level is being managed a little bit. And just about ready to go. You see, this will be good. I'm gonna. This is better. Take some of this ochre and a bit of this burnt umber, and I'm hoping that this color is just going to be a big enough break from the color in the back here from our from the next bit behind, from our next most distant thing. I'm going to go something like that. I don't know if it, I'm probably sure it doesn't completely match our reference photo. And you all know, if you've seen me before, I don't worry about it matching the reference photo all that much. If it's close, it works for me. What I try to do is focus in on what I think is the essence of the painting and help that to come out. So I'm going to do that. All right, I'm going to bring this all the way down, actually. I should get a little bit bigger. I'm doing this with a size 1 brush. Let me jump up. This is a size 4. I can cover a lot more ground with this. And these brushes, even though they're pretty cheap, are pretty nice brushes, I have to say. I'm not sure, they're not squirrel. They are, I believe, part horsehair and part synthetic. I think, but they hold a good amount of water and they come back to a nice point, which is muy importante, which is very nice what I'm doing, and I can go right over that tail. Not too worried about that, and pull that all the way down. In fact, we can get a bit brighter with this ochre down here. It's so far in the foreground. And this guy's going to be standing in some grasses here anyways. I'll keep looking up. I don't know how many people are on. 10 people are on. Nobody's asking questions. It looks like the stream health is fairly good. So as I say every week, if you have any questions, please ask the questions. I will do my best to answer them or come up with some reasonable answer for you. That's one of the fun parts of doing a live stream, is the interaction. So please, if you got questions about me, if you got questions about my supplies, if you got questions about why I'm doing something, please throw those out there. All right, I'm going to mix up a little bit of a cross between my cobalt green and my what is that? My olive green, and I'm going to drop in a few things out here that are bushes or bush-like. Oh, look good! The video looks and sounds good so far. We're ahead of other weeks if we've got that. Some weeks we're not so good. I don't want to do this big really back here. I don't want to make these seem like they're huge things back here on the horizon, but I do want to put them back there. Let's see, ultramarine is this one. I'm going to add maybe just a touch of blue to these. I decided, so if any of you don't know, if you don't follow me on Twitter, I think that's the only place I put it. If you don't follow me on Twitter, that's fine. You're not missing a whole lot. There's a little bit of stuff out there, not too much. I'm going to try to get more out there, but I signed myself up for a watercolor class at my local library. I had no idea what it was going to be like. And I just went into it thinking, well, I'm just going to try to have a bit of fun with this. And it actually turned out to be quite a bit of fun. Part for the people watching. This is a terrible thing. Part for the people watching, part because it was fun to get out there and paint in a group. Something I don't do a whole lot. But I had a great time with it, and I put my painting that I did on Twitter. I believe it's on Twitter. You can see it out there. It didn't turn out too badly. I'll tell you a little story about it as I'm going along with this, if you want to hear it. Just let me get a few more of these in. I see, Charlene, you said something. Just give me a second here so I can get a few of these plants and whatnot in here. And these might be a bit dark, a bit darker than I wanted, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Not going to worry too much about it. They'll lighten up a little bit. And I just want something out there in the background so it's not the same as what's up above it. Let's see. Charlene, you said... okay, so these brushes are Art Secret brushes. I bought these at the same time that I bought these. Hang on one second. Where are my other ones? Well, here's another one of them. These are my Dana brushes. They're made by the same company. These ones are Pure Squirrel, and I like these, and I've used these plenty of times. If you look back through my videos, I couldn't tell you the names of them all that I use these, but I use these in plenty. And I did a review of these in one. And I like these. I like most of the stuff about these. Again, these are my Art Secret ones. I bought these from Amazon. You can go there and find these. They'll cost you, this set will cost you $40, $45, something like that. I do have a link to these on my website. I thought it'd be cool to paint with some black paint brushes. You got this orange thing on there. I'll tell you, I like these three brushes. I don't like this one. It does hold a lot of water, but for some reason, the looks of this one, this looks too stubby or something, so I visually don't enjoy using that one. These three, I think, are pretty nice. They hold a lot of water. They always come to a nice, you can see the point that they all come to on here. Let me put that right above the white part. You can see they always come to a nice point. And I've used these quite a bit, and they still hold a nice point. They still hold a lot of water. They're pretty springy compared to, let's see, compared to this one when I get it wet. If I can get it wet, and it's got to soak into that hair a little bit. Now watch, this one's not going to do it now. Well, this one bends and breaks a little bit. This one will bend, but it usually comes back to a nice sharp point however you do it. This one will bend and maybe break a little bit. All right, maybe that wasn't the best demonstration. But I like these. And the one thing I don't like about these, other than visually the end of this one, and you can probably see the copper on this one is not as used as that. They have plastic handles, and they feel a little wishy-washy in your hand. The shape of the barrel is fine. The look of the barrel is fine. It's just the feel of it is a bit not as nice as a nice finished wood. But I like these. I'm going to start using these a bit more and a bit more. You'll probably see me using these. Donna. Oh, hey, Donna. Donna, I'm trying to find the color indigo watercolor paint in M-Gram paint, and they not having any luck. let's just see if they make it. I happen to have, this is the M-gram color chart. I don't know if this is their entire catalog of paints, but it would be in here somewhere. It's between Prussian blue and a black, but I don't see it. I don't see that they make an indigo. That's pretty nice that I happen to have that color chart. There, I went to a hobby shop. My stream is offline. Is my stream offline? No. Charlene, you say no. That's funny because... Wow, that's funny because YouTube just flashed up a thing that said I'm offline. Okay. Anyways, I went to a hobby shop with my son. They were moving to a different location, and they were cleaning out their back room, and they had stacks of those M-gram brochures out there, and I just grabbed one. And it's really funny because they don't even care. They didn't even carry M-gram paints. That's what was really weird about it. Okay, so everything up here is dry enough for me to do other stuff on it now. And what I want to do down here, what I'm going to try, I think what I'm going to try is when I put on my colors down here, let's move this out of the way and put this on the right thing, and let's kill the colors there. Let's do something. Let's see. I've got some watercolor pencils here. Come on. So what I'm going to try to do, maybe with this ochre, or what else do we have here? I don't know. I could use this umber. Maybe this, what is this one? Sunburst yellow. That might be too bright. Spanish orange. That might be too bright. But what I'm going to try to do is put this layer of paint on, put this layer of paint on, and then draw up some of these grasses here. And hopefully I'll be able to draw over top of some of the bushes and reeds and weeds and stuff behind. I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but I'm really curious to see. So with that, we're going to have a little fun here. I'm going to try to mix up a couple of different greens here, and I'm going to start with phthalo green. And if you've watched me a bit before, you know I like phthalo green. It's a fantastic color, but it does need to be mixed. You can't use it straight. It's just horrible. Okay, fun stuff. You had to peek at my Twitter painting. Do I feel like I learned anything from the class? Okay, so while I'm going to put a band of color on here, and while I'm putting this band of color on there, I'll tell you about my experience at my watercolor class. So I didn't know exactly what to expect. I've taken my kid, you know, I live in a tiny little town. There's not a whole lot here, right? I'm 4 hours plus away from Los Angeles, and I'm 4 hours plus away from San Francisco, right? We're in the middle of nowhere. But I've taken my kids to this particular library for a number of other events, and they have had a great time with it. And so I wanted to kind of go into this with some open mind, not telling myself that it's going to be, terrible and whatnot, but just telling myself, go in, have some fun with it. You don't know what it's going to be. It could be great, and if it's not, it's a learning experience. So I sat at a table with a woman to my left who brought her dog. The dog sat on her lap the entire time. It was a very sweet dog. Sat on her lap the entire time, and the entire time she complained that the instructor leading the program wasn't letting her see the easel that he had set up to do his paintings on, but she couldn't get up to walk around to see it because she had a dog on her lap. And I just kept thinking, that's the funniest thing, that she's willing to tell this guy he needs to move so that she can see what he's doing, but she can't put the dog down for a second to go over and look at it. And the woman on the other side of me, who I'm sure had no experience watercolor painting, in the class, I feel badly, the class was moving pretty fast for her, kept saying, I don't have any green, can somebody get me some green? And the instructor kept saying, I gave you red and blue and yellow, you have to make your own green. And she never quite grasped the make your own green concept, and so she really struggled. But it really was an interesting class in that the instructor had a sheet that said, it was very paint by numbers-ish. It said, you are going to paint this first, you are going to paint this second, you are going to do this in that order, and when you are done, you will have something that looks very nice and looks like this. And I was, to be honest, a bit dubious about it. So we painted the sky first. Then we painted distant hills, and we had to do these all in a specific way. Then we had to, distant hills, then closer hill, then trees, then rocks, then beach, I think is how we did that. It was a little rocky beach scene for anybody who hasn't seen it. And he passed us out a picture that we were going to use as a reference, and he had hand-drawn everything that we were going to paint and handed that out to us. So there was no drawing or anything on our part. And I'm getting a little bit wet, I think, because I haven't used these brushes in a while, and the water in them is a bit more than I remember. So we painted in those orders. I'm going to go right up towards the edge of this. Maybe I'm going to do this one little bit first. We painted in those orders and in the way that, it's not going to do it, is it? That he prescribed for us to paint, and it was fine. It was fun. I had I had a good time with it. I was one of probably 3 or 4 people in the whole room who had ever painted watercolors before. So I kind of knew what to expect when he was talking about the painting and the painting process and whatnot. I did have a funny little run-in with him. He gave us, at one point, he gave us a little scratch sheet of paper, and we did do a little exercise together. It was painting skies. And he said, this is how you paint a sky, or this is one way to paint. He didn't say this is how you paint a sky. This is one way you can paint a sky. And he proceeded to paint a sky, and we proceeded to all try to copy him on our scratch sheet of paper. And hold on one second. You know what? Oh, I don't have it here. Okay. I thought I had something that was a little thicker. I had some watercolor crayons that I thought might work a bit better than this pencil, which I think maybe is too sharp, too pointy, maybe not waxy enough on here. I'll just draw a little bit, and that'll give us some. Oh, I got a little too wet here. I don't know if, let's see if you can see it. Right in here, started pulling the paper up. It's so wet. So let me go back to the skies a minute. This was funny. I painted my sky just like this, and I did the same thing I did here tonight. I turned it over because I wanted the water to drip down this way. I held it up like this, as I wanted to come down this way so that this part would be a little bit darker than it would be at the horizon. And he came over and he looked at it and he went, I don't know about that sky, Michael. He goes, it's not really what I had in mind. And he goes, you probably should paint another one. I went, okay, fine, I'll just paint another sky. So I flipped the paper around this way and painted another sky on that side. And he worked his way back, and he said, I don't know about that sky either. Which one do you like best? And I went, well, I like the one that you told me was not all that good, and you wanted me to redo it. And he went, you know what? Fair enough. Use that one. And I went, okay, fine. I'll use that one. So I had a little chuckle, and he had a little chuckle about that too. Okay, well, let's see. Anyways. Fun stuff. The second part of your question was, did I actually learn anything in that class? What I took away from that class, because he gave us only 3 colors. He gave us a red, he gave us a yellow, and he gave us ultramarine blue. And we had to develop all of those colors ourselves. What I learned was, first of all, landscapes aren't as bad as painting as I remember them being. And second of all, I like the limited palette. I don't know that I learned a whole lot about, the way that you do a watercolor painting, and you should do this first, and you should do that first, or this is quote, quote, how you do something. Because all of that is just kind of, rules meant to be broken. But I did that, and I went, you know what? This was actually kind of fun. If I were to do this a slightly different way, kind of in my own way, this really could be a fun painting to paint. Not that that one wasn't, but it was just, that was his way to paint that painting. So I think what I'm going to do, because that was a picture of the coastline here, up the coast a ways, about 20 miles up the coast. I think what I'm going to do is take a few days off of work, probably not consecutive, but take a few days off of work and drive up the coast and find a nice place and sit down and do a few landscape paintings And of course, I'll be taking a camera along with me. I don't know. When I first thought about it, I went, well, I'll just take my phone and live stream everything from my phone and do it live. I don't know that that's necessarily the best way to do it, but I guess what I learned was not so much a technique or a way to do something or how to do something or anything like that. Or maybe it's a rediscovery of painting landscape paintings was really kind of fun and something I enjoyed, if only for 3 hours on a Saturday. So let's see, Gabriella. First of all, hi Gabriella. Just a funny story about your class makes me think of a song. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Yeah, exactly. It was. You had to take that class with just go into it just wanting to have a little bit of fun and knowing it's a community library class. At one point, and I really liked that he did this, at the end, he took everybody's painting and put it in a mat and held it up in front of the class for everyone to see, which was entirely frightening for a number of people there. And he found something nice to say about everybody's painting, and for a number of them, he gave them a little bit of advice on maybe things that they could continue to do on that painting to develop it maybe a little bit further, or if they wanted to continue and do another watercolor painting, some tips that they could take to further their watercolor painting. I thought that was a very nice thing for him to do. And if anybody out there paints and they don't put your stuff in a frame or in a mat from time to time, you're not doing yourself any justice. Take a painting of yours, any painting that you have, and put it in a frame, and you will immediately see that it gets better. It just does. I don't know how it happens. I don't know why it happens, but your painting will look better as soon as it's in a frame. Now, if you want to know what he said about mine, he take it for what it's worth. He said mine was not a bathroom painting. And I said, I don't have any idea what a bathroom painting is. And he went on to explain, a bathroom painting is one that you don't view from, 2 feet away. The bathroom painting you view from several feet away, I'm assuming while you're in the seated position. Mine was not a bathroom painting, one that you would hang on your wall and look at from 4 or 5 or 6 feet away. I went, okay, fair enough. I can live with that. I just thought it was incredibly funny. Okay, you know what? I'm going to do his horns and his head up here, and I already know this brush is holding a lot of water, and it's going to be way too much for what I'm doing up there. I'm going to get the silver brush number 4 here. Oh, hey, Lean, welcome. You didn't get the notice. Yeah, I put the notice out late. I was working at work today. Silly me. I try not to let that happen, but it does, and time got away from me, and I didn't get to put a whole lot out there. That's too red. I'm going to mix in a little bit of this burnt umber. So the fact that you didn't get a notice, Aileen, is my fault, not the fault of YouTube or anyone else. Blame that entirely on me. And I'm going to just do this, and I'm going to do a little bit of a blend here. It's going to be a fairly tight, short gradation. And if it's not exactly right, then it's not exactly right. But I think that's going to work out pretty well. That teacher sounds like a piece of work. Well, you know, I thought about it. I'm like, is this guy just cuckoo, or is he always like this, or is he just like this for a class? And probably he has to be a little funny about how he does stuff, because he's doing a demonstration in front of, let's see, I think there were 14 of us, maybe, that most of us had never, or probably never painted before. But like I said, I had a hoot. I thought it was a lot of fun. I hope everybody else liked it. If that happens again, I'm definitely signing up again. All right, I'm dropping a little bit of sepia here into the tops of these horns. It's a bit darker up there. And then I'm hoping I don't have to come back to those horns, well, basically ever again. I'll probably retouch them at some point, but if I don't have to go back to them, so much the better. Holy cow, I thought this was going to be a quicker-ish painting, and we're already 40 minutes into it. Where does the time go? I want to give a little bit under this guy's head here, and this is where I'm going to start to do all of my shading on him. Right, he's got some definite shading under his head. I'm going to go back and do the bottom of that jaw in a little bit, but he's got some shading underneath his head here. I'm just going to pull that down. Now that I've got all this silly background nonsense out of the way, we can move. We can move a bit more quickly and have a bit more fun with this. I said we got some blue under here. I know we got a little bit under here. I'm hoping this is just dry enough. Maybe warm that up as it comes over here a little bit. I want to do just enough to make these the legs, not this front leg, but the leg closest to me, stand out a bit. And I need to push this leg back a bit. I don't need to do a ton with it, but just a little bit, and that'll help divide those. Please tell me if you guys can't see this quite good enough. If I need to move the whole camera down a little bit, just please let me know. I can take a moment to do that, because I know that I'm working in the whole picture, the whole painting is 9 by 12, but I'm working in such a small area of it here that it still might not be real easy to see. So if you'd like me to move that down a little bit, please just say something and I'm happy to do that. Let's see, I mix up a little bit more of this ochre. This is maroon perylene and raw umber over here. I know there's some bit of color on this kneecap here. Just drop a little bit of that in. And yes, I'm putting in a little bit of the color here while I'm doing some of the shading, because if you notice my reference photo, a little zoom might be nice. Okay, if you notice my reference photo, let's do that, and I'll try to keep that in frame. This part that I'm working on, I'll try to keep that in frame. I can't necessarily make any promises because, well, because I got a hair here. That's too bright. That's too bright. Dull that down just a little bit. A little better. Oh, I was saying that I want to put in a little bit of color, like on the knee right here, in one shot, because I obviously don't have all of the spots all the way down, right? This giraffe has spots all over it. I don't know that I gain anything by doing little tiny spots all over the place. So what I want to do is put some color, some extra color in on some of these other places, and I can do that in one step when I add to the knee here, or when I add to a different spot. If I can get the color somewhat more right. There we go, there we go. And I draw that out a little bit, and you'll see that all of a sudden, or I hope you're going to see, if you don't, I'm in trouble, that's going to start to look kind of knee-ish. There we go. And I'm just going to very lightly blend that out. When you see me do this, I should probably explain. I've got a piece of paper towel here. I just dip my brush in the water to get the paint that I have on it off. Dab it on my paper towel here, just a couple of times like that. And then right in here, I don't want much of any color at all on my brush when I do this. Let's see, this has got to be darker. I need this back leg to stand out a little bit. Give me a little bit of blue. Back here. I know, you're looking at it, you're going, oh my Lord, you just put a big old thing of blue on there and now it looks hideous. But what I'm trying to do with that is work in two dimensions at once. I want it to look like there's two parts to this guy's underbelly back here. So it goes down and it also goes around this way. So down and curve that way. And it's where it's got that double curve back here that I really want that darker area. We've kind of set off some of that. Oh, I can't tell you how disappointed I am that my watercolor pencil idea didn't work. That's terrible. I don't like when my ideas don't work. I know. I should be used to it by now, but I still don't like it. Let's see. I'm going to get a little bit of his neck here. We do have a fair amount of shadowing on his neck. And under here, So let me ask you this question. I don't see anything up there. Oh, is that a black velvet brush? This is a silver black velvet brush. You love yours. I'm a reluctant reluctant lover of mine. I don't want to like it. I shouldn't say that. When I've told the story before. I got it and I hated it. I didn't like it at all. I put it in a drawer, and at some point I said, well, I gotta give it another shot. I've got the brush, and I do rotate brushes enough. So I got them back out, and son of a gun, if I didn't start liking it. And it's kind of become a staple on my painting table. It's here a lot. So I like it too. But somewhat reluctantly. I don't want that to sound bad. They're very nice brushes. However they came up with this, and I think I told you guys how they do these. The bristles are backwards what everybody else's bristles are. Instead of being shortest on the inside and longest on the outside, these ones are almost opposite. They have a lot of the short bristles on the outside and longer, thicker ones on the inside. I don't know, is this guy looking good or not? He's got some definition to him here. I don't think this leg is very good. I'm going to let this separate a little bit more. I'm going to really try to define that. I don't want to get too far down into his knee there. Oh, but I think that helped it out quite a bit. Is there a dream brush I would want if money were no object? Oh, God, I wish you had not asked me that question. I actually have my dream brush. And you know when they say you should never want to meet your heroes? Well, I met mine. And you know what? I don't like it. I don't. I'll show you. I'll grab it here in just a second. It is right somewhere. Okay, hold on a second. I don't want to go. Here it is, right here. I traded a painting for a brush, whatever brush I wanted. And this is the Winsor & Newton Series 7 Finest Sable Brush. And this is the second one of these that I've had. And I think this size 8 is not even as nice as this size 8. I would rather use this size 1, or I guess the better comparison maybe would be, if you look at the bristles, would be this size 2. This brush, although it's very springy, it is beautiful to hold. It's got a great balance to it. It looks like $1 million. There's nothing I can do to get this to come to a sharp point at the end. the bristles break at the end on this brush, and the one that I had before this that I sent back because it was like that. This one is better, but this was the brush that I always wanted. I thought this was the best brush out there, and I got it, and I've used it a half a dozen times and put it back in my holder where I'm going to put it now, and I haven't touched it since. And yes, that makes me feel terrible. But it's hard to like it. It's not, I don't know if anybody out there is a Winsor & Newton fan. I have lots of Winsor & Newton stuff. In fact, I have a Winsor & Newton quill brush. I have two of them. I went a little quill brush crazy at one point in time. But I have quill brushes, two of them. They look like these, this type, this style, this look, and they are unbelievably good. They are squirrel brushes. I don't have them at home. I leave them at my work. I use them there. They're in a travel pack. So if I paint on my lunch hour, or if I'm going to go somewhere after work, I dump them in my rucksack and take them with me. They are fantastic. The Winsor & Newton Series 7 brushes, for me, everybody may have a different experience. I don't want to say that that's a bad brush for everybody. I have a bad experience with mine. Have I tried the Escoda brushes? I have tried one. It was not mine. It was a gentleman that I painted with for a while at school. We had a little group that would go outside and paint. And I just said, can I just look at that for a second? And I did a few strokes here and there. It was very nice. But I did not get to use it long enough to really gain any useful knowledge out of it, other than to say it was a very nice brush, and that's about it. Yeah, so much for meeting my hero. I was so excited. I was like, oh, yes, this is going to be great. And I should say, I've had that brush for 3 years. And probably nobody has ever seen me pull it out and use it in a video, because I don't think I have ever used it in a video. I would venture to say I've probably not even used it to complete a full painting with. To answer your question, no, I've not really tested and used any of the Escoda brushes. But so here's my take on brushes. Okay, here's my real take on brushes, as a whole, not as this brush or that brush. You know what? His head's getting way too dark here. I am convinced that if you painted 20 or 30 years ago, it really mattered what brush you used. It really did. You couldn't have gone to your local art supply store and picked up a brush, even like a snap brush, for a very reasonable amount of money, and had an extremely good paintbrush. But I think today we've come far enough that there are enough brushes that are really good. They're really good that you can get them either cheaply or fairly cheaply. Like these silver black velvet brushes are not an expensive brush in the grand scheme of things. I don't know what these cost each. Like I said, I think I got 3 of these. Whoop. 3 of these in a pack. I don't know, $45 or something like that. And you know, or these ones in a pack for $40, and I think they're fantastic. They're very nice brushes. Whereas this brush is $100, and it's just not nearly as nice. It's not what I thought it was going to be. Yeah, right. It's fun. So you paid $3 for a set of brushes and you use them all the time. And that's part of it. The brushes you use are the ones that are going to be the most beneficial to you. These ones that I bought, that you've seen me use these all the time. Look, the ends are all nasty and stained and everything. These were $25 brushes on sale, and I've used these a ton, and they're fantastic. So I don't know that I'll ever use the Escoda brushes because there's just so many other good brushes out there. I'm past the point, I think. Let me say that with my fingers crossed. Past the point where I think I'm going to end up spending too much money on brushes just because I've convinced myself I don't need to all that much. Okay, I'm going to put in some of these spots now. I'm going to try to move it along. And what I want to do is get a nice puddle of paint here. That's got a little bit of red in it, and it's got a little bit of brown in it, and it's got a little bit of ochre in it. What I don't want to do, and you can paint these on in any way, shape, or form. I don't know really that I have to stay within the lines or that they have to be drawn. I certainly didn't try to draw them the same as on the reference photo here. But what I want to do is not to have just brown spots everywhere. I want some ochre color in some. I want some red color in some. If I can get some red and ochre in some together, so much the better. Right, I think it's just going to add that much more interest if we can vary the color of all of these. And they don't need to be all red here and all brown there and all whatever over there, but just little bits here and there. Like I'm going to start with ochre color on the top of this one. Then I'm going to move to this brownish red mixture. And hopefully by the time we get to the bottom of this, it's a slightly different color. And I just, you know, like I said, I'm just hoping to add a little bit of interest to it. And I promise you, I won't keep everybody too much longer. We've got a few spots, and we've got his head to do here. But let me ask you if you guys have any interest in seeing more plein air painting. It will be plein air paintings of the coastline around here, which is, albeit, beautiful coastline, as pristine probably as we're going to get in the United States or close to it. My town is a national bird sanctuary. You can't throw anything out that could possibly harm the ocean here, because it would harm the birds in the ocean. So the water is very clean. It is cold, I will admit. But it's very clean. Lots of birds living here. Lots of beautiful rocky shore. Road trip. I don't know that it's going to be a big road trip, but it'll be a small road trip. Probably. I can go. I've got a very small electric car. Small electric car that limits my range for anything. So it will be a small road trip, but it will be a road trip nonetheless. I was thinking that maybe I could go up the road and paint by the abalone farm. Paint some wild abalones or something. I don't know if they travel in packs or herds. Okay, they don't travel in any of those. They're mussels. But the area up there is just stunning. It's you've got the highway that runs up the coast, PCH, and then there's probably a quarter of a mile between the highway and the coastline that is all protected, and there are trails all over that you can go on and walk up and down and hopefully find a nice place to sit down and paint something. I guess maybe I shouldn't have bothered to ask. I'm going to do it anyway. That was a terrible thing. I'm going to do it anyway. What I should have really have said was, be on the lookout for, because it's going to be coming. Maybe that's a better way to say it. And if you don't want to see it, well, I'll still be back here on Wednesdays doing this kind of stuff. Is it looking giraffe-ish? It's looking kind of giraffe-ish, isn't it? It's getting there. Whoa! Snow in Rocky Mountain National Park. It's September still. What's the elevation of Rocky Mountain National Park? It's way up there. I've actually been there a long time ago, but I've been there. That's pretty cool. Won't be going on snow expected too. Man, I thought we were all in global warming. What's up with the snow forecast? I'm going to try to do a little something here. Just add a bit more color. I don't know if this is going to work. This might have been a very bad idea. But I don't want to end this quite as dramatically as I have it here. I want to let this come down this giraffe's body a little bit. These colors. And I can hear the neighbor's dog barking. I don't know if any of you guys can hear that or not. The neighbor's dog behind is getting 14,000 feet. Holy cow, that is way up there. No wonder it's snowing. I shouldn't tell you, it hasn't snowed here. Let's see, I've lived here for 14 years. It has not snowed in my town in those 14 years. I don't think it's snowed in any of the towns around us in that amount of time. We did drive to the snow so my children could see what snow was at one point. That was 30 miles away-ish, something like that. And we have driven up to Fresno, or the hills on the other side, the mountains on the other side of Fresno, I guess the Sierra Mountains, to do some sledding so my kids could experience snow. But that is as close as I get to it. Well, I still think I got way too much red in that. I don't know if I can tone that down just a little bit or draw some of that back that way. I don't think it's too bad. All right, now I need to let this dry here just a second. You're 8,000 west of Denver. Denver is, of course, the mile-high city, so it's 5,000 at least. And we're having bear problems. Bears are awesome. My family used to have property in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and we had bears come and visit us there, black bears, come and visit us there all the time, and it was, well, I thought it was fantastic. I don't know what my parents thought about it. I always thought it was great. Oh, I did this badly. Nobody said it, and I didn't catch it. Okay, so let me show you what I did here. Oh, this is terrible. I made that leg longer. I made the back leg longer than the front leg. I don't know if I can fix it at this point. So I'm going to try to do something like this. Let's see. And then I'm not going to be able to. I can get some color in there and give it a little something to grow some weeds out of, but I think I'm not going to be able to do too much with it. Oh well, you know what, if I hadn't said anything, probably nobody would have caught it, except for me. I had to open my big stupid mouth. That's okay. So all I've done is I've drawn a couple of mounds on here, because I want to be able to draw in some grasses. I want to be able to pull up from that a little bit. And I just have my old rigger brush here. And I'm drawing in these mounds just some lines. And it's a fairly nice, easy way to add a bit of dimension to what you're doing. And that mound, I might have saved it. That mound helps to provide a place for those grasses to come out of. Now this one is too long and too flat back here. But these ones on the side I think are okay. I'll darken this one a little bit. Come on, I know I got some extra paint on my palette here. I'm going to darken that a little bit and let that come out. And that's just going to help to add a little bit of dimension, bring that front of this forward a little bit, and push the giraffe back just a little bit. You can see how just a few of these here and there really make it look like a big old clump of grass, and where it's blended out on the bottom, it's just the grass growing into the ground. Let's see. You guys are all talking about bears all the time now. Let's see. North Bay. Oh, you guys are all talking about areas in Colorado I have no cognizance about. So you continue with that. I'm going to paint an eyeball on this guy. And I'm going to go back to my sepia to do that. I'm going to paint him some nostrils too. That would probably help. Nostrils are pretty easy. His eye is and again, I'm just using my rigger brush, and we'll put a couple of lines on here. I'm going to put one for his mouth down here too, underneath. And maybe that was a mistake. I don't know. Let's see. I'm going to blend that just ever so slightly, but I want to differentiate in a more active way his top lip from his bottom. I think that'll work. So I like a little bit of that sepia on there. I'm gonna I didn't necessarily want to do that. I'm gonna have to redraw the bottom of that eye. I was trying to get a little bit more texture on his face here. I was hoping I could just do that with a couple of lines, but it was just still a little bit too wet. And I've got to put the bottom of his eye back on so we can see again. There you go. I know that's a small detail there, but I think that's going to help with his eye. And that line here, is that in focus? Come on, focus camera. It can only focus on certain. The line up here helps to give him a little bit more depth and detail in there. Oh, I forgot his tail. I got to do his tail. And then we're done, and that'll be it. I can't forget his tail. Next time I paint one of these, I'll tell you about my trip to the What was the zoo? Santa Barbara Zoo. And you all can look this up. They had a crooked-necked giraffe. Literally had a big bend right in the middle of its neck. Whoop, let me raise this up a little bit. I don't remember what her name is, but really, her body was normal. Her neck went up, and there was a big bend in it, like a 80-degree bend in it. And then her head was normal, and she was normal, lived a normal life and everything, but just had this weird crick in her neck. Okay, there we go. I'm going to call that good for tonight. I'm going to sign it right here. I hope you all enjoyed this one. I enjoyed painting it. I think it turned out okay. I like the giraffe. I honestly didn't know what to think when I started or when I drew it. Didn't know how it was going to go, but I enjoyed painting it. I think it turned out pretty good. So with that, I'm going to say, don't forget, down below there are links to Twitter and Instagram. There's probably a link to my webpage down there. I do have some apparel on my webpage. I've got a coffee fund and a beer fund if you want to help keep me going here in the studio. I don't know that I have anything else on there to plug. That's it. Thank you all so much for joining me. I'm going to try to get a video out later this week, but if not, I hope to see you all back here again next Wednesday. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.